Now, this is a common objection that I hear in very competitive markets, like coastal markets, right? Florida, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Southern California, very competitive markets. It is asked frequently because the sellers, the homeowners, leads in that area have been bombarded with different forms of marketing already. So they're somewhat conditioned. They have been exposed and have talked to multiple investors, right? And the more investors that they talk to, the more offers they receive. The more offers they receive, the more the more experiences they have of investors backing out or canceling contracts, right? So this objection does pop up. Bill, this might not be a common one in your area, but what's your tip for responding, or how do you respond to this particular objection right here? Can you send me proof of funding, Bill?
Well, you're right. I mean, in a competitive market, that's more often to come up than, in a market that's not so competitive. But the best answer is simply this, is you make it part of your offer, is why wait for the objection, Gil? Just include that in your offer. You say that, buyer will provide proof of funding upon seller's acceptance within 5 days after seller's acceptance. That's the best way to handle it, and it doesn't even come up. Now if you want to show your hand in advance, certainly you can do that. If I'm going into a competitive situation and I know that's the case and I'm meeting with the seller personally, then I'm going to bring the proof of funds. So if I know there's other offers pending, then I'm going to go ahead and provide it. But if you're making multiple offers all over the landscape, why show your hand? So the best solution is proof of funding will be provided upon seller's acceptance of the offer within 3 days after acceptance or 5 days after acceptance, something like that. So,
nice. And again,
if they accept your offer as written, that's a killer deal. You got money, you got people out there with money or money in your funnel that can buy that property. So it's going to be a non-issue. If they don't accept your offer, then why should you have to provide funding? It doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a really good point. And I think, for those of you that are working competitive markets, please make a note of that, okay? Because like Bill said, why do you need to show your cards? Why do you need to show proof of funding if they're not going to accept the offer? I mean, that can be some very personal and heavy-handed information, right? I mean, we use bank statements as our proof of funding, which we do extend to the bird dogs and wholesalers that we partner with in order to get them into those tight circles with those really good deals. So for joint venturing with you in your local market, please let us know if that is something that you need, so that we can grant you access to that. Somebody in my office will go ahead and process the proof of funding and make sure that it gets to whomever it needs to go, right? And again, we're using bank statements. We're not using those rinky-dink $10, $15 letters that you can buy on the internet that claims you can borrow up to $500,000. People have caught on to that, especially here in Southern California, right? So with dealing with objections, again, we like to approach it from an angle where you set the expectation on the front end, you address it even before it pops up so that it's a disaster that you can avert, it's an objection that you don't even have to deal with, right? And when dealing with this particular seller, Bill likes to set it up. You know what? With regards to proof of funding, we have no problem providing that, right? Most homeowners are pretty satisfied with a bank statement, and we can get that over to you in a timely manner within about 3 to 5 days once you accept the offer. I'm sure is that okay with you, right? Or I'm sure you can appreciate that, knowing that proof of funding isn't going to be a problem for us, right? Because there are a lot of investors out there who knows whether or not they can actually perform and get the job done. Steve, I'm going to unmute you. We have you doing deals and marketing for you in a handful of markets, doing deals virtually. Do you guys come across this objection?
Unmuted.
Can you send me proof of funding? How do we know you guys even have any money at all?
I really don't get this one a lot. I don't really get this one a lot, or ever. I'm sorry, but I don't have good feedback on that.
I know, hey, it is what it is, right? And I want to be able to present, the opposite sides of the spectrum there, because some people think that it's an absolute must to have proof of funding, okay? You're flipping houses and farming virtual markets. this doesn't come up for you guys, right? So it's really a non-issue. Don't make it an issue. It's not an objection. If you're in our network, you guys don't have to worry about that. We can get you proof of funding to move that transaction forward, right? So not a big deal. If you guys are coming across this and have other
Muted.